Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 oh, Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaka Dhamayam Dati Swapadantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the first of the presentations I'm giving on this Harinam Cintamani. We have 3 other lectures after this one. So Harinam Cintamani is a book written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I'm using translation which was done by His Holiness Bhanu Swami to present some of the main points from the book. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes how there was a meeting one day between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. Lord Chaitanya, of course, had come to live at Jagannath Puri, and he was staying in the house of Kasi Mishra. That's where his Gambira was. And that house, of course, is just near to the temple of Lord Jagannath. And Haridas, he's staying on the beach. Haridas is not allowed. He's from the Mohammedan family, so he doesn't enter into the temple. He stays on the beach and he worships Lord Jagannath just by seeing the dome of the temple of Lord Jagannath. And in this way he offers his respects to Lord Jagannath. So Harinam Cintamani describes how one day it happened that Lord Chaitanya requested Haridas. He asked him, how will all the living entities ever be delivered? And Haridas, he's staying at this time at the Siddhabakula. There's one tree there, Siddhabakula. It's been there a long time. That's why it's called Siddha. So Haridas would sit there and chant the holy name, do his bhajan. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes how Lord Chaitanya had come there and met Haridas and asked him to describe how all the living entities can be delivered. So Haridas Thakur, of course, is very humble. He doesn't feel himself qualified to speak. And he thought, this is just the Lord, that he wants me to be the instrument for his words. So on behalf of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas Thakur is speaking. So the book begins here quoting this verse, which is from Padma Purana, and it's also quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We just read it the other day, actually, when we were reading Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Kasi. Oh no, not Kasi, right, in Kasi, because in Kasi, the Mayavadi sannyasis, they would never say the name Krishna, and they would only refer to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Chaitanya. They would never say Krishna Chaitanya. The holy name would never manifest on their tongue because they were offenders to the Lord by speaking the Mayavada philosophy. So this verse is very important for us as devotees. It describes the transcendental nature of the holy name. As you can see, it's mentioned here. We can chant the verse together also. Nam Cintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binat Nam Nama Namino. So the name of the Lord fulfills all desires. It is Cintamani, right? Cintamani, a wish-fulfilling stone which can give you anything you want. So the holy name has that potency. For the materialistic people, it will give them dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And for the devotees who are chanting the holy name, it can give them prema. They can develop love of Krishna just by chanting the holy name. So, Nam Cintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It is the very form of Krishna. The holy name and Krishna, they're not different. Lord Krishna, the person, and the holy name. The very form of Krishna is described, it is full of consciousness and rasa. It is complete, pure, and eternally liberated. So the holy name is always pure. We may not know the pure holy name, although we try to chant the pure holy name, but the name itself is always pure and is never contaminated. Just like the sun is never covered by the clouds, but we see the sun, sometimes it's covered by clouds, but the sun itself is above all the clouds. But to our vision, we think the sun is covered. So the same way, we may chant the holy name, and then we may not chant the pure name. We don't chant the pure name, and we cannot understand the full nature of the holy name. But the holy name itself is always pure and never covered by Maya. We get covered by Maya, but the holy name is never covered by Maya, because the holy name is none different from Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna is the controller of Maya. And then the verse, this is because the name, this is because of the non-difference of the name and Krishna. So all of these different aspects of the holy name are mentioned because the holy name and Lord Krishna are not different. I was telling you the other day also how one time the devotee was giving the lecture at initiation. Prabhupada had requested one of the senior devotees to speak, and he was speaking about the holy name in front of Srila Prabhupada. And he happened to say Krishna is in his name. But Srila Prabhupada corrected him and said, Krishna is his name. They're not different. So Prabhupada wanted to make it very clear to all of us. And this verse also is pointing out the same thing. that the holy name of Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna himself, the person, are not different. Of course, for the impersonalists, for the Mayavadis, they cannot understand these things. They think when Krishna comes into this world that he is an ordinary person. And they think the holy name of Krishna is just a material sound vibration. They do not understand the actual nature of the holy name. So this verse begins, Harinam Cintamani, and then Haridas Thakur then goes on to describe about the potencies of the Lord. The Lord is a person and he has different energies. The Lord is Vibhu, and he has these different energies. There are three principal energies that we know in our observation of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the Ishvara. He is the supreme, independent, conscious entity. He's fully independent. Right? We are not independent. But the Lord, he is totally independent. He can do whatever he likes. No one can check. If he wants to steal the butter, then he can do it. If he wants to leave the battlefield as Ranchor, he can do it. If he wants to dance with the gopis, as he did on Sarat Purnima the other night, he can do it. Because he's the independent Supreme Lord. So Sambandha, Haridas Thakur is giving us this Sambandha Gyan. We have to have some appreciation for the Lord and his different potencies. Then we can properly practice devotional service. It is good for us to hear. Then when after hearing, then we can apply what we have heard in our practice of devotional service. Right? So devotional service, we have three different phases. We have Sambandha Gyan, Abhidaya Gyan, and Prayojana Gyan. So Sambandha is the knowledge of the relationship between the Lord and the material world and the living entities. And Abhidaya is the process of devotional service, how we apply that knowledge in our service to the Supreme Lord. And Prayojana is the goal of all of that. What is the goal? What are we trying to achieve from our service to Krishna? So we have to be clear about these things. So it's important to get the Sambandha in the beginning. If people just chant Hare Krishna, they don't know anything, then of course it's good, they get some benefit, but they'll get more benefit if they know what they're doing. If they know who is Krishna, and if they understand the nature of the mantra, if they understand the different principles behind the chanting, then it will be more beneficial to them. We just do it blindly, we don't know anything, it's okay, but you're not going to get the full benefit. But if you actually know what you're doing, then when you apply the knowledge, it will have more effect. So Sambandha Gyan is being mentioned first here by Haridas. He mentions how the Lord is supremely independent. And then there is the Antaranga, or the Chit Shakti, which is the internal or spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual energy manifests the Holy Dham. The Holy Dham, Goloka, Vrindavan, Vaikuntha, and in the spiritual world there is also the Dwarka, there is Ayodhya, there is also the Brahmajyoti there in the spiritual sky. So the Lord manifests all of these different things. There's the Dham, there's also the holy name. The name of Lord Krishna, we said, is not different from Lord Krishna. Now Lord Krishna is spiritual, so the holy name of Krishna is also spiritual. It is completely pure and never contaminated. And he has many different names. We will be hearing how there are many different names of Lord Krishna. Then Rup, the form of the Lord. He has the four-arm form in Vaikuntha. He has two-arm form in Goloka. There is also Vishwarup with many arms. These are some of the Lord is Anantarup. He has countless forms. And Guna, qualities. The Lord also has wonderful qualities. Qualities in how he relates with his devotees. How he cares for his devotees, and he's helping them also, helping all of us to come back to him. And then Lila. Lord Krishna also enjoys Lila, his different pastimes. As a child in Gokul, and then growing up in Mathura, going to the wrestling arena and fighting the wrestlers and killing Kamsa. And then Lord Krishna moves everyone to Dwarka, and he lives in Dwarka for several years before he disappeared from the world, before he completed his pastimes. So Lord Krishna's Leelas are there in Vrindavan, in Mathura, in Dwarka. This is all part of the Antaranga Shakti, the internal potency of the Lord. And then the Tatastha Shakti, the living entities. Tatastha Shakti, the same quality as Chit Shakti, but Anu, particle, infinite in number, with free will, with a capacity for unlimited bliss. So this is the nature of the living entity, the jiva. He's a dependent, conscious entity. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also describes the nature of the living entities, right? In 7th chapter, Apariyamitastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yeyidam daryate jagat. Lord Krishna had been describing the external energy, which is also Prakriti, and then he goes on to describe the living entities. He said, besides this, there is another energy of mine, O Arjuna, which are all living entities, who are trying to lord over the material world. They're trying to exploit the resources of the material energy. So in Bhagavad Gita, the living entities, we are described as being the Lord's Prakriti. But we are superior Prakriti. Superior because we are conscious. The jiva is a conscious entity. But we are not independent. Rather, we are dependent. We are dependent on our relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, as living entities, we have free will. As we've mentioned here, free will. We have the capacity for unlimited bliss. But it's a question of where we choose and how we choose to live. We can reside either in the material or in the spiritual world. This is the free will of the living entity, right? We said we are dependent. So do we have free will? We have a tiny portion of free will that you can choose. We can choose either to live in the material realm or in the spiritual realm. It's up to us. We're given that freedom of choice. So the living entities in this situation, because we are anu, we're very small. So we're easily covered by the material energy. The Lord is very great. He's infinite, but we're infinitesimal. We're very tiny. We're easily covered by the material energy. And it also mentions there's an infinite number of living entities. Everywhere, there's so many trees and plants. There are so many insects and birds. They're all different living entities. They're all jivas who are in the material world. They're identifying with the material energy. And we're trying to exploit it. We're trying to enjoy the material energy independently of the Supreme Lord. And this is the cause of our bondage here in the material world. Because we're looking at the world for our own enjoyment. We're not seeing it in relation to the Supreme Lord. So this way we remain in the material world. But at the same time, we have the potential for unlimited bliss. We can liberate ourselves. We can go to the spiritual world. But that requires surrender, submission to the Supreme. To enter into the spiritual realm, we have to cooperate with the Supreme Lord. So this is our independence, tiny independence, either Krishna or Maya. When we choose Krishna, then we are controlled by Krishna. Krishna arranges for us. He takes care of us, puts us into situations for us to progress. Lord Krishna says, Mahatmanas tumam parta devim prakritim ashrata. We're under the protection of Lord Krishna's energy because the Mahatmas, the great souls, are always engaged in devotional service. So Lord Krishna engages these great souls. It gives them shelter of his divine energy. And some may be here in the material world, and everyone in the spiritual world is a liberated soul. The spiritual realm is the kingdom of liberated souls. They're all there, and everyone is engaged in the service of the Supreme. Here in this material world, we are the minority. This material world is 1/4 compared to the spiritual realm. So there's a far greater number of living entities in the spiritual world than what is here in this realm. All right? then we go on to explain about the Bahiranga Shakti. So three energies. There's Antaranga Shakti, this spiritual energy. There's a Tatastha Shakti, which is the marginal potency or for the living entities. And here we have the Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy. Again, it's Prakriti, so it's dependent. Prakriti, this material nature is moving under my direction. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains the material nature is not independent. And the material world, the Bahiranga Shakti, is without consciousness. Just like this table or chair or this building, they don't have consciousness because they're simply material elements. They're made up of different combinations of the elements of the material world: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The 5 elements of the material existence. Here we mention 23 elements. 23 elements because we're adding on the different senses. We have 5 working senses. We have 5 knowledge acquiring senses. We have the 5 sense objects. And then you have the 5 elements of the material nature, the gross elements of the I just mentioned, the earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then you have the 3 subtle elements, the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. So in this way you have 23 elements. So the material nature, the external energy, is comprising these 23 elements. And they're arranged within 14 worlds. 14 worlds. So sometimes we will hear 3 worlds like heaven, earth, and hell. But 14 worlds is a more elaborate way of describing the different divisions in the universe. 14 different divisions, 7 upper regions and 7 lower regions. And we're on the earth, we're in the middle of the universe, between the upper and lower regions. So on the upper region, you can go up, where we have like Om Bhur Bhuva Swa, and the Gayatri mantra, Brahma Gayatri said Bhur Bhuva Swa. So these are the different levels within the universe. Bhuvar Loka, and then Swarga Loka, the heavenly planets, and above Swarga Loka, then there are 4 more planetary systems like Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and at the very top of the universe you have Satyaloka, which is the planet of Lord Brahma. So the upper regions are like that, and then the lower regions, you have the different hellish, or you have also subterranean heavenly regions, which are below Bhumandala. And so below Bhumandala, there's no sunlight. It's only darkness there. But everything is lit by the light of jewels. And there's a lot of jewels. Everyone's body is covered in jewels, and jewels are used to light everything. So the demoniac, the demons, generally, they're meant to reside in the lower region of the universe. And the upper regions, like Swarga Loka, that's where the demigods reside. So in this way, the material energy is described, right? The 3 elements, the 3 principal elements. We'll go ahead and see. So, just to summarize what's been explained, you have the Ishwara, we have the Supreme Lord, and we have his different potencies. The Lord has energies, just like you and I, we each have our energy. So the Supreme Lord also has his energies, his potencies. And you can see they're mentioned. There's the Chit Shakti, which is the eternal Shakti. And from the Chit Shakti comes the spiritual world, the spiritual sky, all the spiritual planets, Vaikuntha, everything. And on the other hand, we have the Achit Shakti, which is the material world. And we just heard about the material world of the 23 elements and 14 different levels of planetary systems. And there you have, in between them, the Jiva Shakti. And the Jiva, the living entity, he can, if he makes proper use of his free will, he will surrender to Krishna and take shelter of the spiritual energy. But if he is inclined to be totally independent and try to just simply exploit the resources of the material world, then he associates with the material energy. And in this way he remains in the material world, taking birth and dying again and again. Here you can see the condition of the jiva in the material world, right? Now, we know from the Bhagavad Gita, there were three main paths described in Bhagavad Gita. We had karma, jnana, and yoga, and they're all meant to lead to bhakti. And because it's only by bhakti that we're going to get into the spiritual world. So the jiva in the material world, he will either be a karmi in the sense that they simply want to enjoy the material world. The majority of people, the common people, are in that mood. They just let me enjoy life. I just want to be peaceful. You can see, enjoy the material world in peace, right? How long are you going to be peaceful for? You know, how long will your peace be there? Even you want peace, you know, still everywhere you get so many wars from time to time. You don't want war, but it comes anyway. And then there's not only war between nations or communities, there's the war within our own self as we battle against the evil within us, the lust and the anger and the greed. We have a war going on externally and also internally, although we want peace. So karma, anyway, the idea behind karmic activity is we will simply enjoy the material world. Some few people will become frustrated in their efforts to enjoy the material world. And they will try to renounce the material world. They will become philosophical, and they will take to the path of speculation. They will study and read many books, and they may try to speculate, come up with their own philosophy about the nature of the world and the goal of life. So ultimately, their idea is to get liberation from the material world. By their own experience, they've understood that the material world is not giving any eternal happiness, but the pleasures and the enjoyment in the material world is very temporary and limited. And they look for an alternative, and therefore they think about liberation. And that also is the thinking of those who take to the path of yoga. Yoga here, we're not just talking about the asanas. It's not just you do Surya Namaskar and stand on your head for some time. But real yoga is to control your mind and meditate on the Supreme within. The yogis they also think about liberation from the material world. Some other yogis, they're thinking about yoga siddhis, but generally the higher purpose of yoga was to get free from the wheel of birth and death, to go beyond the wheel of samsara. So that is liberation. So these different goals are there for people. Now, what about the devotee? If you take to bhakti. So, in the beginning, to take up devotional service, there must first of all be some faith. The 9 levels of bhakti we were hearing this morning from Romapad Swami Maharaj about the 9 levels of bhakti, and they begin with faith. You have to have some kind of faith, and that will bring you to the practice of devotion. So we've mentioned here the 3 different stages of practicing bhakti, which are all described in our book also. Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion describes in nice detail sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti. All right? So with faith, you take up the practice of sadhana, following the rules and regulations, the practice of devotional service, regulated activities, hearing and chanting. And if you go on and practice seriously these principles, gradually it's expected that one day you will attain the level of bhava bhakti, and you will experience some ecstasy in the practice of devotional service. And these different characteristics of bhava bhakti are also described for us in Prabhupada's book, Nectar of Devotion. Asabandha, we were hearing yesterday about Asabandha, that great longing, great hope that one day I will achieve these things. I will develop my love for Krishna. So bhava bhakti, and that is the seed to prema bhakti. Prema bhakti being the goal of life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Prema punarto mahan. The goal of life is to develop love for God. And if you've been developing Krishna prem, then certainly one day you can go to the spiritual world. You'll go back to Godhead. So this is the nature of the jiva in the material world. We want to get out of the material world. We have to have some kind of spiritual practice. So bhakti is the recommended path which can certainly help us to go out of the material world. The jnanis and the yogis, they can get at the best liberation. But liberation is only theoretical liberation. It means for some time they may enter into the spiritual realm, but again they will come back again, because they have not properly understood their relationship with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, although they're trying for liberation, they achieve only some temporary situation. They may enter into the Brahmajyoti. And in the Brahmajyoti, there's simply the oneness, no activity, no relationships, no interchange, no exchanges with people, no identity, only the oneness. So what happens there? You get bored after some time. You know? Just like if you go to the Buddha's temple, you know, some people have told me if you go to the Buddha's temple, you know, sometimes they have these Buddhist retreats, and you go there for the weekend, and they'll tell you, don't talk to anyone. Wow. Just sit and meditate, you know. You just sit and contemplate the oneness or the nothingness. And so, you know, you can do it for some time, but not for very long. So in that way also, people who achieve liberation, they're not very satisfied there. And after some time, they again come back. Because the nature of the soul is to be active. There has to be some activity. But if there are no activities, and do nothing, stop after some time, you just become fed up. You know, you want to have you long for some activity, because that is the nature of the soul. So spiritual existence, in order to enter into the spiritual world, we have to be prepared to take up spiritual activities, like hearing and chanting. We have to develop a taste for these things. Then we can go to the spiritual world. If you go to the spiritual world and you don't like hearing and chanting, you won't stay there very long, because everybody's hearing and chanting all day. So you have to have a taste for this hearing and chanting. And that's what we're doing here. We're practicing, we're learning, we're developing our taste, so that one day we can also go to the spiritual world. So we were talking about the 3 different kinds of bhakti. You can see here, we've shown that each of the levels of bhakti, sadhana, bhava, and prema, that in each level there is a chanting of the holy name. And that chanting of the holy name continues right into the spiritual world. You go back to Godhead, you do more chanting. Some people think, when you go back to Godhead, don't need to chant anymore. Oh no. Go back to Godhead, more chanting, endless chanting. So, we have to develop that taste for the chanting of the holy name. And it's there, both in the sadhana and in the sadhya. Sadhana means the path to become perfect, and the sadhya is those who are already perfect. In every level there is a chanting of the holy name. Okay, and the next slide we're showing here how from the holy name, well, first of all, the holy name, it's all coming from the Lord Sandini Shakti. The Sandini, the Lord has 3 energies and 3 potencies in the spiritual world, which is called Samvit, Sandini, and Ladini. Ladini we're more familiar with. We know that's the pleasure potency of the Lord. The Samvit potency is the knowledge potency of the Lord. And the Sandini potency of the Lord, that is his creative potency, by which he manifests everything. Everything actually comes. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Right? Everything, material and spiritual, it all comes from me. So this is the Lord Sandini Shakti. And you can see everything, the holy name, the Lord's activities, qualities, and form. They're all manifest from the Sandini Shakti. the whole material, the whole spiritual and material creation, they're all coming from the Sandini Shakti. So the Lord's holy name, His form, His activities and His qualities, right? Nam, Guna, Rup, Nam, Rup, Guna, Lila, these different things, they're all different aspects of the Lord's Sandini Shakti. And it's all coming from the Lord. Usually we will point out that within the holy name there is also the form of the Lord, His qualities, His activities, within that chanting of the holy name. As our chanting becomes more and more powerful and pure, we will realize the lila and the guna and the rup of the Lord within the holy name. It's the holy name which is like the foundation for all of these things. It's all there within the name. We chant the holy name and you can get realization, seeing the Lord, remembering His qualities and His activities, His pastimes. So this all comes through the chanting of the holy name. Lord Chaitanya took different devotees to express different features of the Vedic knowledge, of the philosophy of the absolute truth. Just like through Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he taught the real purpose of liberation. Initially, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had been a Brahma, he'd been a Mayavadi, a bit of a Jnani. He was a Mayavadi and Jnani, but Lord Chaitanya made him a devotee. And he understood the real goal of liberation. Right? For the impersonalists, they think liberation is the goal. But when he became a devotee, he understood that the real liberation begins when we practice devotional service. So Lord Chaitanya, through Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he taught about liberation. And then through Ramananda Rai, he taught about rasa. And he also did that through Rupa Goswami also. You can study the Nectar of Devotion. The second part of the Nectar of Devotion is describing rasa. And it was all taught to Rupa Goswami by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly, Ramananda Rai, he also elaborated on the details of rasa in his talks with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita the confidential talks between Ramananda Rai and Lord Chaitanya and how they discuss rasa. But through Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya is teaching us the glories of the holy name. This is important for us to understand. That Shri Haridas Thakur, he's describing to us the power of the holy name. And Haridas Thakur, there's no one better to tell us about the holy name. He's not just talking, but he lives the holy name. He chants the holy name day and night, right? Every day for many, many years, he'd been chanting 3 lakh names. So what better person is there for us to hear about the holy name from than Haridas Thakur? And he is telling us the importance of Sambandha Gyan, that we have to have the proper foundation behind the chanting. We want to understand everything properly. So, here you can see there are different types of names. We were talking about the name of the Lord. So what name of the Lord should we chant? We often hear that 1,000 names of Vishnu is equal to one name of Lord Ram. Right? It's, if you go in Tirupati, and if you go to Hatiram Swami Ashram, in Hatiram Swami Ashram, the pujari there, he's got his watch, and when he's got his mobile phone, and whenever the phone goes off, it will go, Rame Rame Namo Rame Sahasranama Bistu Yam Sri Rama Nama Varanini. This is the verse which says 1,000 names of Vishnu is equal to one name of Lord Ram. So that verse is very meaning, because they're devotees of Lord Ramachandra, right? So they worship Lord Ram. So they give great importance to the holy name of Lord Ram. And Lord Shiva quoted, he told this verse which I quoted, it's the words of Lord Shiva. He's telling his wife, you don't need to chant the Vishnu Sahasranam, my dear wife, with a beautiful face. He tells her, just chant the holy name of Lord Ram. Right? So there are different types of names. The holy name of Vishnu, there's certainly Lord Vishnu, his name is also important, it's also powerful, but it's just 1,000 names of Vishnu is equal to one name of Lord Ramachandra. And we'll see, if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, where this verse about Lord Rama is also quoted, then it goes on to describe that 3 names of Lord Ram is equal to one name of Lord Krishna. And so there are different potencies in the holy name. And in Haridas Thakur, he describes that there are primary names and secondary names. The primary names are those describing the Lord's pastimes, like Radha Ballabha or Giridhari. Lord Krishna has many names for his different but sometimes we sing Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara, like that. This is beautiful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all names of Lord Krishna. Of course, sometimes we also sing in the morning in Vrindavan, every morning at Mangal Arti, they will sing Vibhavari Shesha, Aloka Prove, and that's also names of Lord Krishna. But different names, some are avatars in different forms. So there are primary names, and if you chant the primary name, which generally, these primary names will be describing the Lord's pastimes. And by chanting these names, you can come to prema. You can develop Krishna prema. But if you chant secondary names means those names which are more about the activities of the Lord, describe material functions of the Lord, like Paramatma, Brahman, Ishvara, Jagadisha, these different names. So you will see the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, Brahmagyanis, they will chant these names, just like they refer to Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Chaitanya. They didn't say Krishna Chaitanya. They would only say Chaitanya. They're not able to chant the name of Krishna will not manifest on their tongue because of their offenses. So secondary names describing the Lord's creative functions, his different activities, they don't have the same effect. You can get some material elevation In other words, you could elevate you could go to the Swargaloka, you can even go up to Satyaloka, but you're going to have to stay in the material world. You can get liberation, but theoretical liberation. Sayujya mukti. You're not going to get actual liberation, which is desired, which is even actual liberation is not desired by a devotee. But a devotee can accept one of the four kinds of liberation, but he will never accept impersonal liberation, because impersonal liberation means no opportunity for devotional service. And if there's no opportunity for devotional service, eventually you become bored. You come back to the material world, you take up some welfare activities, you open an orphanage, or you have a soup kitchen or something like that, and feed the poor, you do welfare work, because you don't have any real spiritual engagement. You're not accustomed to hearing and chanting, which is the actual spiritual activity. That's the real business of the soul, to be engaged in Shravanam and Kirtan. And then we can go on to higher levels of bhakti. So we should note the distinction here between these different names, how these different things are there, right? And you can see we're showing here the result. One is you can go to be with Krishna, get Krishna Prem, go to Vrindavan and be with Krishna in Vrindavan. On the other side, you can see the impersonal liberation. Enter into the light, into the oneness, merge, right? Because we're very minute, we're very small, so you enter into that light, into that oneness. How long will you be happy there? Not for very long. So we should understand clearly the different destinations which are achieved by these different activities. Next, we want to point out that there are different kinds of chanting, different levels of chanting the holy name. We're talking about the importance of chanting the holy name. We have to understand there are different levels of chanting. So we're showing here the three kinds of chanting. Nam aparad, Nam abas, and Shuddhanam. Nam aparad meaning offensive chanting. What would be, every morning we recite the 10 offenses in chanting the holy name. So particularly the offense would be that we think Krishna and Krishna's name are different. If you're thinking there's a difference between Krishna and Krishna, just like in the material world, you know, there's a difference between my money and actual money, you know. There's a difference between this woman and her name. They're different. But if we're thinking Krishna and Krishna's name are different, then this is wrong. And if we think the name is material, then this is also an offense. And when we chant like that, you don't make any progress. You will never get the goal of the chanting if you chant like that. You may chant for many births, but you will never get the ultimate goal of the chanting if we're thinking in this improper manner. So it's very important to make it clear. The Lord and His name are not material and they're not different. On the higher level, we have Nam Abbas, meaning the shadow of the holy name. Just like the sun can be covered by the cloud, So the name may be, although the sun is covered by the cloud, still there's some light coming through the cloud. So Namabhas is like that. I'm going to talk about Namabhas. I think this afternoon we will be speaking more about Namabhas. We're introducing it to you here this morning. So Namabhas, you can see the problem is we haven't got proper knowledge. We're still a little bit in ignorance about the nature of the holy name. And another problem is our own purity. Maybe, we're not very strong in our spiritual practice. We may have some deviations or some anarthas in our practice in chanting. Right? We have anarthas, we know that, right? So these things, they can block the real potency of the holy name from coming. And this causes us to chant at the level of Namabhas. But at the level of Namabhas, you do make some progress. Although it may be a bit slower, you do make some progress. So it's actually not so bad. We will explain more in Namabhas later. And then we have the Shuddhanam, the pure name. And you can see we have mentioned that to chant the pure name, you have to have proper knowledge and you have to be pure. You have to be strict in your habits. You're not going to chant the holy name purely if you still have a lot of anarthas in your heart. So we have to get rid of all these obstacles, all these things in the heart. We have to go through the anartha nivritti. That is the most challenging of all the 9 processes of bhakti, to get through an anartha nivritti, to remove all the unwanted things from the heart. The lust, the anger, the greed, the illusion, the madness, the envy. So to chant the pure name, we need to really endeavor. But when we chant the pure name, then you will quickly progress back to Godhead. You will quickly awaken Krishna Prem if we are chanting the holy name with purity, without offense. So, Namabhas, we're trying to avoid offense. We're not doing any offenses deliberately. But Nam Aparad, we don't even know about offenses. We just go ahead, we just chant and we commit offenses. We don't care about it. So we don't make progress there. So 3 levels in chanting, right? And here we're talking about the pure name, Shuddhanam, the pure name. Somebody chants the holy name 1 time. He chants purely once. Well, that's good, right? If you chant the holy name purely 1 time, it's better than not chanting at all. But even better than chanting 1 time, somebody chants constantly. Of course, this is taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita, this section. I was reading it in the last few days, and we heard how one householder devotee had come to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The devotee was actually Satyaraj Khan, very, very nice devotee. And he came before Mahaprabhu in a humble way and said, I am very fallen, I am in householder life, how can I make advancement? And Lord Chaitanya told him, you have to chant the holy name constantly and serve the Vaishnavas. So then he asked Mahaprabhu how to recognize a Vaishnava. And then Lord Chaitanya told him, first he said, anybody who chants the holy name one time, they should be considered a Vaishnava. So, hearing these words from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left. He went home, back to Mayapur, back to Navadvip. But the next year he came again. And the next year again he asked the same question, how to recognize a Vaishnava. And this time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, one who chants constantly, he's a Vaishnava. So the devotee again left, went back to Navadvip, but a year later, again he came. And again he asked how to recognize a Vaishnava. And this time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, one who inspires others to chant purely, he is a Vaishnava. He is the topmost devotee. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was pointing out that there are different levels of devotees. Some are chanting one time. They're a devotee. We respect them. Rupa Goswami describes the same in the Upadesh Amrita. He said, one should mentally honor a devotee who chants the holy name. One should offer obeisances to someone who has taken initiation and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that devotee who is fixed in undeviating determination and is freed from the propensity to criticize others. So again, Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrita, he's making the same point which is brought out here for us in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's also there in this Harinam Cintamani, that there are different levels of devotees. Someone has begun to chant, they're a devotee. Someone's chanting constantly, they're a better devotee. And the best devotee is the one who just by seeing him, he inspires others to chant the holy name. So like this, we understand the holy name. It appears in different forms, different manifestations. I will stop here and we'll ask if there are some questions. Yes, where's the microphone? Have we got a microphone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the beginning, you talk about Sambandha Gyana, Abhideya, and Prayojana. The first one, Sambandha Gyana, it's about knowledge, and you mentioned it's relationship of Lord and living entity and material world. And later you mentioned three kind of topic. I wanna match it one by one. The first topic is Antaranga Chit Shakti. It means eternal and spiritual energy. This one is talk about Lord, because you mentioned the Dharma, Nama, Rupa, Guna, like that.
Yes.
First one is talk about Lord. And second one.
First one talks about the Lord's creation, the spiritual world. Yes, the Lord, of course, is also the Antaranga Shakti. He's completely spiritual.
Okay.
So Antaranga Shakti means the spiritual potency. So it includes the spiritual world, the Lord's holy abode, everything in relation to the Lord is spiritual.
Okay. So Brahma Jyoti also belong to Antaranga Shakti?
Yes.
Okay. The second one is Tatastha Shakti. It's marginal energy. Here talk about living entity.
Yes.
The third one, Bahiranga Shakti. It's a external energy. It's here talk about Prakriti. It means material world.
Yes.
And in this, the third one you mentioned, there are seven up,
seven up and seven down.
seven down. But the material world is material Earth is one. So I calculate. I'm not good at calculating. So 7 up, 7 low, and there is Earth. I think it's 15. And you mentioned the another topic is 3 words and
Yes.
heaven, hell, earth. So I mix together.
Well,
I cannot calculate.
It's a simplified form of presenting the universe. To make it simple, we simply say there's heaven and hell and earth. 3 worlds. That's making it very easy for people to understand. But if you want a more detailed analysis of the universe, then we say there are 14 different levels within the universe.
Okay. Thank you. I have another question. There is a picture. I cannot understand that picture. You mentioned Chit Shakti and Achit Shakti. Chit Shakti is the spiritual world, and Achit Shakti is the material world. And Jiva Shakti is staying between Chit Shakti and Achit Shakti. But later you talk about if living entity stay in material world, if this living entity is materialist, they must go through 5 kind of process: karma, jnana, yoga, bhakti, and then spiritual world. But if the living entity is a devotee, they must go through the faith, bhakti sadhana, bhakti bhava, bhakti prema, and spiritual world. So it's a distinguished materialist and devotee process.
Well, not materialists, but endeavoring transcendentalists. People who are trying to get out from the material world. If they take to the path of jnana or yoga, then they can also get liberation.
Okay.
Right? But if they take to the path, if they have some faith in bhakti, then they can take up devotional service and chant the holy name. So it's up to people. Not everyone is able to take to the path of bhakti. Some people they're more inclined to yoga, or some people are more inclined to be speculators. They like to read many books and study the language, and they take to the path of jnana. Some people are Advaitas, Jnanis. Now Jnanis, they make progress, but they make progress slowly. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes there are 4 reasons why people surrender to him. Different reasons, right? You know this verse in the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah.
Chaturveda bhajanti mam jnana sukritino arto jignasur artarti jnani cha bharatarshava. 4 kinds of pious people who surrender to Krishna. Somebody comes in distress, somebody comes in need of wealth, somebody comes out of curiosity, and somebody comes in search of knowledge. So who is the best of these 4? The one who comes in search of Knowledge. Yes, right. The one who comes for knowledge, he is considered the best. But then Lord Krishna describes that they make progress very slowly. After many births and deaths, one who is actually in knowledge, he will surrender to me. So by Gyan, you don't make progress very quickly. And often, Gyanis simply, they don't become devotees, but they simply want to go to the oneness, into the Brahma-Jyoti. They want to give up their identity. And they enter into the oneness, into the Brahma-Jyoti, where there are no activities, where there's no relationship, where there is no variety. So in that condition, they become very bored, and they will come back to the material world. So some people take to the path of Gyan, some people take the path of karma. Some people just like to work. They just want to work for Krishna. You know, some people are like that. They never chant, they never hear the class. They don't know, I'll just work. And they will work and work and work. But gradually they may become purified. They're working for Krishna, and we hope one day they will come and they will hear about Krishna and they will start to chant. But some people, they have that nature. They just like to work. So some people, they're karmis, they like to work. Some people are jnanis. They like knowledge, they like to study books, they like a lot of knowledge. And other people, they want meditation. They like to sit and still and stop everything and just concentrate on the Supreme. It's different natures. So there are different processes for different people. But if people take because this is Kali Yuga, and because this is Kali Yuga, we have a short life. We have some faults. We are lazy. We are misguided. We are unlucky. And we're always disturbed. Srila Vyasadeva has already described these things in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are not very qualified for karma or jnana or yoga. So he gives a process which is very easy for everyone. Chanting and dancing, everyone can take part. Young people, old people, women, children. When the kirtan is going on, everyone is happy. And we have been hearing also Ramapad Swami Maharaj is telling us how people everywhere, all over the world, they like kirtan. Not so many people like japa. But everybody likes kirtan, right? And so kirtan is very powerful for people. All right, so chanting the holy name. But there's quality in chanting the holy name. And what name are you going to chant? You know, we explained there's primary names, there's secondary names. We should chant the primary names. The name of Lord Krishna, we follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chanting the name of Krishna, right? So here you can see qualification for chanting. Who can chant? Any human being. The dogs and the animals, sorry, they can't come. We don't let them in the temple. We can give them prasadam, and you can chant the holy name to them. But, you know, I don't think, we don't have too many animals chanting. So, generally, human beings take up the chanting. Another qualification, faith. They have to have some faith that what they're doing is something very special. they have to appreciate the importance of this process, and they can feel how it has great potency. And we do find many people who come, they chant, and just the first time they come to the temple, and they feel emotional. Some people are shedding tears and crying. Very first time they come to the center and take part in the program, they become overwhelmed with spiritual emotion. So we do see people who come they have great faith. But the place and the time and the cleanliness are not considered. Right? No consideration of place or time or cleanliness. Dirty or whether you're clean or dirty, you can take part in the chanting of the holy. Sometimes women feel, oh, I'm contaminated, I shouldn't come. No, you can also come. You can also come and take part in the kirtan. Even though you may be in a contaminated condition, you're still allowed to come and take part in the program. Although we won't let them on the altar, we don't let them in the kitchen to cook, we don't let them touch tulsi, but they can come and hear and chant. Everyone can do that. So the time also, morning, night, any time, 24 hours a day, chanting can go on. Place, any place, anywhere, you can chant anywhere. There's no restriction. So here you can see the different rules here. To get prema, you have to chant the primary names. Primary names means names in relation to the Lord's pastimes. We are chanting, generally we chant Hare Krishna mantra. Right? Actually we have 3 mantras. There is first of all the Hare Krishna mantra. There's Panchatattva mantra, which is generally chanted first before we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And we have one other mantra, which Prabhupada said it was a personal favorite of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Hare Namakrishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Again, all primary names of Krishna. So, like that. We want to chant the Shuddha Nam. It should be pure name. It should not be offensive. We should avoid offenses. And then, constant chanting. We're going to have constant chanting in another 2 days, right? We're going to do our 64 rounds. We're going to try to chant. And then, association. You have to have association. You want to get prema, you have to get prema from somebody who's got prema. And then, avoid unfavorable activities and take up favorable activities. That's also part of the surrender process. Anukuyasya sankalpa pratikuyasya varjanam. There were 6 items of surrender given, and the first 2, accept everything favorable for devotional service. What is favorable? Chanting, hearing, doing service, deity worship, coming to Mangal Arti, all of these, taking prasadam, all of these things, favorable for what is unfavorable? Meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. These are unfavorable things. Association with non-devotees, unfavorable, these things. So in this way, we understand what is important to get prema. Follow these kind of things. Any other question? Oh yes, okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much. Maharaj, in the beginning, again, you have the slide which Mataji was also mentioning about the Sambandha Gyan. There we saw that Dham, Nam, Rupa, Guna and Leela are manifested by Antaranga Shakti. And we sometimes also hear that Lord Balarama expands himself and provide all these things for Krishna. So my question is it both Antaranga Shakti and Lord Balarama, or how does that work?
Well, Lord Balarama is also Antaranga Shakti.
Lord Balarama is Antaranga Shakti.
He's also we're included within the Antaranga Shakti. Lord Krishna is spiritual energy. Lord Balaram is not different from Lord Krishna. So it's also spiritual. He's also spiritual energy.
Okay, thank you.
Maharaj, this is the first time I'm hearing from you, and I just wanted to appreciate your presentation was so lucid, so systematic. That was a real gift. Thank you. And the question that comes to mind is, Krishna and his holy name are non-different, and that is of course true for Shuddhanam. And I have a doubt that even in what I'm chanting, which is trying to come to the stage of Namabhas, even that name that I'm chanting, that is Krishna, even though it's not Shuddhanam.
Yes, you're chanting at Namabhas, then it's the shadow of the name. It's not fully Krishna, but it's the shadow of the name. You're making a genuine attempt to chant Krishna's name. So, yeah, we have to distinguish it between the Shuddhanam and the pure name of Krishna. It's, you know, it's a portion, it's some effect of the name, just as the sun is covered by clouds. So you're not in the direct sunlight, and some portion of the sunlight is coming through the clouds. So we're chanting at Namabhas, it's not fully Krishna, not the full potency of the holy name, but certainly some portion of the name is there, and that's why it purifies, but purifies slowly compared to the Shuddhanam. It's not going to be so immediately effective as the pure name. It will take longer time to progress. But chanting at Namabhas does give, it frees us from sinful reactions, and it does give us brings us to the level of liberation. We'll be discussing more about Namabhas this afternoon.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, is there any other question, final question?
顶拜咕噜，顶拜所有奉献者，谢谢咕噜那么清楚的这个课程。我想问一下，北京有个奉献者，那个奎帕玛依他们家有一个金刚鹦鹉，他一见到这个奎帕玛依回家就海雷克什纳，海雷克什纳，海雷让嘛，海雷让嘛，他就会念。这个就是他念不完整，他就会念哈利奎什纳哈利让嘛。我就想问问，这个鹦鹉下一辈子会不会得一个人的身体？
Sandini Mataji's question: One Mataji in Beijing has a animal parrot pet. When the Mataji goes back to home, the parrot start saying Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. The parrot is not saying the complete Mahamantra. And her question is, in the next life of the animal, will this animal get a human body?
Yes, definitely he'll get a human body.
他一定会获得一个人类的躯体。
By association with a devotee.
通过和奉献者的这种联谊。
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. Oh, no, not mine.